Hello, good evening. Welcome to our Antioch College Fall Tele-Townhall. My name is James Lippincott. I'm the Director of Alumni and External Relations. I'm excited to be here at Antioch College and to be here this evening with you. Thank you so much for joining us. During the conversation this evening, if you have a question that comes up, please dial *3. We have students and alumni who are ready to take your call and speak to you and get your questions. And we're going to go ahead and I'll tell you who is here on campus with us this evening. So Tom Manley is here, President. We also have faculty. We have Corinne Taktaris. We have Coco Gagne, who's a current student. We have Kim Langsbergen, also a member of the faculty. And Rob Hollister, class of 66, who is a member of the Board of Trustees. So to start us off this evening, Tom, could you tell us a bit about the philosophy that you have for the vision of Antioch College at 175?
Yeah, thanks, James, and hello, everyone. It's delightful to be here. When I came to Antioch, we were on the cusp of receiving fast-track accreditation, which was successfully awarded a year ago last summer. And we recognized at that time that while that effort, that Herculean effort, was absolutely essential to get us to the starting line, that it, in and of itself, being a startup liberal arts college, was not going to actually distinguish Antioch in the landscape of small liberal arts colleges, nor would it actually position us to really answer the question of a true startup, which is what need are you meeting that's not currently being met. And so the faculty and students, staff, and alumni have all been engaged this past year in a process called FACT, the Framework for Antioch College's Transition, which has led to a very exciting point that begins with the approval of a revised curriculum, a new calendar, and a value statement that we believe really positions Antioch to become a new kind of American college. In the words of Horace Mann, we have a chance for a college that's never been seen before. And so now, as we begin this fall quarter, the Board of Trustees will be looking at the work that the faculty is proposing and the new calendar and this new value statement, which really places the ownership of the Antioch students' education in students' hands, collaborating with faculty, collaborating with the administration and the alumni to create this new kind of American college.
Thank you, Tom, so much. Now, once again, if you're on the line and you have a question, you can dial *3, and alumni and students are standing by here to take your call and your question. I'm going to ask Corinne now, who's a member of the faculty, to introduce herself and to then ask or answer the question about how the faculty have gone about approaching curriculum revisions and what that process has been like.
So hi, I'm Corinne Taktaris. I teach in literature program. The main things that we wanted to do with the curriculum revision was to allow more flexibility for both faculty and students to be able to follow their passions and really teach those passions and have more agency over what they teach, what they learn, and how we interact with each other. And we also wanted to build in more scaffolding for our students, which allows us to have a more rigorous education, especially because we're reaching out to a lot of first-generation students who may not have that preparation, but we wanted to be able to bring them in and prepare them so that they can reach their full potential. We also wanted to bring in more explicit pedagogy and diversity, which is something that our students of color and our LGBTQ students have been asking for. What we've done is really expanded the self-design so that all students can self-design. We have a design your degree course so that every student who may think that it's not for them can achieve that. We have reduced our breadth requirements. We still have them, so they still have that broad liberal arts education, but it's less like check all of these boxes, and they're more able to follow their passions. We'll have a diversity requirement, a dialogue across difference course, which will allow students coming from different perspectives to be able to communicate with each other effectively. Moving into the second and third years, advanced methodology courses, and then what we've done in the senior year is really expand the number of credits that students can take for their senior projects so that they can really devote themselves to something that interests them, that they're passionate about, and have the curricular space to do that. Co-op would still be there as, the real center of the Antioch education, and we're hoping to integrate it more into the major with a self-designed major that can actually be credited in the major.
Thank you, Corrine. We have a question from Howard Smith, class of 61, about our current enrollment, and we also have a question about Enrico Federighi, class of 50, about how many people graduated last year. So we had 76 students who graduated last year, and 136 are currently enrolled at Antioch College, including 28 first-year students. So our next question here is going to go to Kim Landsbergen. And Kim, if you could introduce yourself and maybe talk a bit about the sciences and the new curriculum.
Hello, my name is Kim Landsbergen. I'm an associate professor of biology and environmental science here at Antioch. We've been very excited in the sciences about the potential for this design your degree process for the sciences in particular. So we are still working out the details of what the Bachelor of Science and the Bachelor of Art experience will look like. In particular, we are looking at the Bachelor of Science self-designed as something that would also include pathways for the social sciences and opportunities to integrate math, biology, environmental science, and the environmental sciences as a BS option. I believe someone else asked about engineering. So we have math and physics courses, and we also have the opportunity for supplemental courses through our Sochi exchange. And for example, last year, one of our senior projects was in fact programming and robotics combined, sort of artificial intelligence, environmental sensing, self-designed senior project. So that was an example of some really innovative engineering senior projects that were developed, and we're looking for more of that.
Great, thank you, Kim. We wanted to follow up on some of the questions about our enrollment and class sizes, and President Tom Manley will answer some of those questions now.
Well, thanks, James. I just wanted to make a distinction between the 76 students that graduated, they're wonderful students that graduated last June, and the 28 students that just came to us last week. The difference is as the college has moved from being completely scholarship-based, that is 100% of the tuition and fees are supported by scholarships in the first 6 classes virtually of the college, we realized that for our long-term sustainability, we need to move from that full scholarship position to a more blended mix of revenues and ask students and families to begin contributing to not 100% of tuition, of course, but a good portion of that. So as we make that transition, we were prepared to see that enrollment would get smaller until we again build back on this value statement that we think will set Antioch apart from other schools, even schools that we're not going to be able to compete with based on the fabulous facilities that they may offer with climbing walls and so forth, but it will be the quality of the education centered on the experiential co-op program that will allow us to really set ourselves apart.
Great. Thank you, Tom, so much. We wanted to hear from our current student, Coco Gagne, who can tell you a bit about students and how they are thinking about the curriculum changes that are proposed.
Hi, I'm Coco Gagne. I'm a fourth-year philosophy student. I'm also a member of COMSOL and the assistant food coordinator. I think that there's a lot of general excitement around self-design because as we sort of embark on executing this vision that's collectively manifesting on Antioch's campus, it lends itself to the projects that are in motion in other spheres, whether it be governance or co-op. There's a sort of adaptability and flexibility to the concept of self-design that lends itself to the ethos of Antioch. And one potential example of that is I think the courses that I've benefited from most at Antioch have really put an emphasis on being both interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary, and the potential to allow for credit for governance courses or for governing itself builds in a sense of institutional knowledge but transcends a transitional, or not a transitional, but a traditional education that's sort of narrowly bound by a major, or a singular discipline. And I think that that is really attractive to the Antioch students and the students that are attracted to coming to Antioch. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Coco. And a reminder that if you have questions about the new curriculum, you can dial *3 and you'll be connected with somebody who can take your call. We do have 2 questions from Gretchen Shaft in, Silver Spring, Maryland. The question is, what are we going to do now that will be similar to what they did in 1961, that was taking GRE and passing to be standard with students for more prestigious schools? So what can students do that are going to get them into prestigious schools for graduate work? Okay, and we'll have Corrine.
Hello. So I
before coming to Antioch, I taught for a year and a half at Hampshire College, which also has a self-design curriculum. And Hampshire is in the top 1% in the country of students who go on to do graduate work and earn PhDs. And I think what sets that apart is that having done a really extensive research project in their last year and being able to articulate research questions and intellectual pathways, that when they apply to graduate school, they can say, they can already conceive of a project, and they have evidence that they have produced what is almost a master's thesis. And so students that I mentored at Hampshire, got full rides into master's programs. And I think that self-design makes students so much more articulate about their intellectual passions and the pathways that they want to follow to achieve it, that when they do those applications and have to convince graduate schools that they are capable of doing extended work in a field, whether it be the sciences, the social sciences, humanities, or the arts, that they've already done it, basically.
Great, thank you so much. And there was a follow-up question in there, which is how do we keep the faculty we have? And by the way, we do have outstanding faculty here at Antioch who have been recognized with different teaching awards from Sochi and other organizations. And maybe Kim, would you like to talk about faculty retention?
Hi, this is Kim. My take on, I guess, the implications of the self-designed curriculum is that it does allow for both the students to do, they have the agency to do kind of independent work and thinking and research, but it also creates an opportunity for partnership and collaboration between the students and faculty and between the faculty and the faculty. I'm looking at Corrine. She and I linked our courses last winter concerning, so I taught a course in climate change biology, and that was a 300-level applied course where we were looking at large data sets and the physical and biochemical implications of climate change on biological systems. And she was teaching a course in climate change science fiction, Cli-Fi, and we made our classes meet together and read some of the same readings and consider some of the same science. And it was a really exciting collaboration. So the opportunities for transdisciplinary work, I think, actually is a hook. I think that a lot of work in traditional academia rewards kind of unidirectional thinking, and I think Antioch can really provide an exciting place for both faculty and students to do exciting interdisciplinary work.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a question here from Lester Schulman, class of 55 in New York. And his question is, with a freshman class of 28, what are Antioch's chances of survival? So, Tom Manley.
Lester, I appreciate that question. And in fact, I could even say that from you, I expected that question. So the important thing to remember is that without students who can come and faculty who can come and want to be part of the new Antioch, that is an Antioch that is actually meeting a need in the world now, there are hundreds of really good liberal arts colleges in the United States today that could provide a whole person education. What is it that Antioch can do that these other schools can't do? What is our commitment to this high agency that students are demanding, do want, to a experiential education? There's no other school that's better prepared to deliver on that engagement, that real world preparation that we've learned through 100 years of doing co-op, that can provide students with impact in the world around their passions now, and that can prepare them to be world ready, job ready, and graduate school ready in the way that Antioch has demonstrated that it can in the past. But we can't do that with 300 students or 600 students who are completely on scholarships without a large endowment to support that. So we've got to get real. We have to live within our means. We believe very strongly, however, that we will survive because of the power of our vision. Rob Hollister, who's just recently joined the board, was a graduate from 66, and one of the things that I think that attracted him, and I'll let him speak for himself, is the power of the vision that we're offering now that is singular in small college education today.
Thanks, Tom. Again, as you mentioned, a good piece of what excites me as an alum of Antioch, but also as a person who, after graduating, I've spent my career in higher education, teaching for a decade at MIT and then for 3 decades at Tufts University. Is I'm extremely impressed with the distinctive strengths of Antioch going forward. The combination of experiential education, a uniquely high level of student autonomy and control over individually tailored curriculum, community governance, and a deep and razor-sharp focus on selected areas of substantive areas, particularly sustainability and resilience and democracy and justice. That combination really is unique in higher education, and there's a very exciting proportion of today's future undergraduates who I think increasingly will see this Antioch as the place to gain the substantive knowledge and the life skills that they're seeking. And that one of the ways that I and other alums can contribute to the process is to identify those amazing future students who are looking for that combination of educational opportunities that Antioch provided when I was a student here many years ago, and an exciting, up-to-date curriculum continues to be our college's unique role in higher education across the country.
Great, thank you, Rob, so much. We have also a question here from Patrick Tobot, class of 66 in Portland, Oregon. He's curious about how alumni can help and how the college is considering involving alumni. Kim?
Hi, this is Kim again. Again, I teach in the science curriculum here at Antioch, and we have a really vibrant science alumni affinity group. So if any of you science alumni are listening, I want to say thank you again for all of your support of our science programs. Answering the question, how can alumni help in the new curriculum? I think there's a lot of ways. I would say ranging from, varying intensity from low intensity to increasing. So some examples might be making your expertise known to faculty in your particular area and making yourself available as a guest lecturer. So I have personally had a number of alums Skype into my classes as well as come to Antioch as a visiting guest to give a guest lecture. On maybe a bit of a longer term, there could be maybe a week-long visiting artist, visiting scientist, or visiting scholar. Or there are also block courses. So in our curriculum, we might have an opportunity for 2 or 3 week block courses. And a big way of supporting the curriculum is mainly connecting with your expertise. So that co-op connection is a really big bridge. A lot of our students are very eager for skills and also for the networking opportunities that co-op can provide with really skilled alums. So that would be really great.
Okay, great. So we've been having a little bit of technical difficulty, as you know, but we're going to try now going live with a question since we think we've got things back under control. So I'm going to go to Terry Baum here. Terry, are you on the line?
Yes.
Great. So Terry, do you want to ask your question?
Yes. When I started Antioch, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I did not have a clear passion, and I figured it out while I was there. So what does Antioch have to offer an incoming student who isn't clear about what they want to do?
A great question. Thank you, Terry. Corrine?
Yeah, this is Corrine again. So I'm faculty in literature and help with the curriculum revisions. So in the revised curriculum, there will be a commons course for all first years. And part of the reason for that is to create a sort of cohesion around them, to really create that community from the beginning. The one thing that commons course will do will be to introduce students to all of the disciplines that we have to offer. And that will focus on sort of the different ways in which those disciplines approach knowledge and creativity. So they'll be working on inquiry, evidence, expression, and application for all of the disciplines. They'll also have breadth requirements, so they'll be required to take courses in all of our disciplines and sort of sample around and see what might spark their passions. Later, they'll also take what will be called Antioch seminars. Similar to the global seminars we have now, and those will be transdisciplinary courses where they'll get to have exposure to maybe team talk courses and approach a problem from different perspectives, and also really emphasize experiential learning. So they'll get to really in all of the disciplines see not only how the pedagogy, the methodology of that, but put it into practice. And then once they get to their second year, there'll be a design your degree course, which will really help them formulate those questions. So they won't to sort of, be thrown to the wolves, like, figure it out. We really want to usher our students through that process so that we can be really reflective and explicit and purposeful in how students find their passions and then make their passions, put their passions into practice.
Great, thank you. Now I'm going to try putting Dr. Alvin Abrams on the line, class of 56. Dr. Abrams, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Would you ask your question?
My question pertains to the role of community government. Back in 56, community government, I think, was a vital part of my Antioch education, participating in it. I was on Comsol at the time. But I was wondering, given the program today, obviously, what we had then is what it's now, what is the role of community government?
Thank you for that question. I'm looking across the table now at Coco, who has been very engaged at Antioch in all three of the C's, co-op, curriculum, and community. So it remains one of our central focuses, and I think that the revisions that you're hearing about now are not meant to replace those foundational pieces, but rather to amplify and build on them. In the case of community, the thought that Arthur Morgan had is that small community is a building block for democracy, and through the reforms of Aljo Henderson and others, and by the time you were at Antioch in the 50s, community and community governance, shared governance, was a critical part of Antioch students' education. It remains so today, and in fact, will become even more explicitly so. As Rob had mentioned, one of the areas of practices that we've defined, which are not expressions of the curriculum per se, the curriculum still sort of flows out of the disciplines and out of the rigor that we have in the arts and sciences, humanities, and social sciences. But we have this opportunity to do what Morgan suggested, that is, to be a laboratory for democracy, and to make that an expression that can be realized both through the curriculum and also through a student experience in shared governance. So this Friday, the Board of Trustees will be actually meeting starting tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. There's a 90-minute session. It's an open session for the entire community. It is not a closed board session. The trustees will be participating, but it is all about the role of community governance in this new kind of American college and how we can be true to this notion of a laboratory for democracy, and how that leads to opportunities to set the balance of justice. I also wanted just to pick up on the question about how alumni can contribute to the college beyond the really wonderful way that you all contribute to us financially. The new calendar that comes along with this revised curriculum is really exciting to us because it opens up two large blocks of times during the year. One right towards the end of the calendar year, pretty much right after Thanksgiving up to the 1st of January, and then another large block of time in July and the first part of August. And these opportunities will allow both faculty and students and staff members and our alumni, who are distinguished in so many fields, to propose special courses, special projects that they can bring both to campus or perhaps that can take place in other cities, and study abroad kinds of programs. And so we're very excited about this opportunity because alumni have been asking us and volunteering over and over again their time, their resources, and their great talent to help the college, and this will clearly enrich the student experience manyfold.
Hi, I wanted to follow up on the question about the role of community governance.
This is Coco again. I'm a student, but I also currently sit on Council B, which is a sort of think tank for developing a new governance structure for Antioch. And I think that it's important to think about like a new structure not being sort of an imposition that we're slapping on what's pre-existing, but really building a system that facilitates our strengths that are already expressing themselves, whether it be through the kitchens, farm, co-op, the library, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that the collective vision and mood on campus is that we want all of the stakeholders to be equally represented at the table. And it's not just about students and faculty, but also facilities and alum, and the kitchens, and everyone who works to make this community a livable place and a wonderful place to be. And I think that really sort of falls in line with this overarching ethos in terms of the curriculum and the other expressions of this project, in that nothing is an island, nothing is isolated. All parts are connected to one another, and that Antioch is participatory and experiential at its heart. Yeah.
So great. Thank you so much. So if we're looking at another question here, this one came in online from Howard Yasker. This is a small college with limited resources. What are you doing, thinking outside of the box to recruit students?
Howard, everyone's looking at me, so I'll take that question. So that's a great question, and one of the things that we are doing, we have done as part of this FACT, Framework for Antioch College's Transition process, which is a participatory design process, very much in the spirit that Coco just described, is exploring how the existing resources of the college, which are really rich and historic in the sense that many of them were developed by our alumni. For example, WISO, the Coretta Scott King Center, was a gift in the name from Coretta Scott King. The Glen Helen, a gift a long time ago from Hugh Taylor Birch. These resources are opportunities to build the kinds of learning laboratories that can set Antioch apart, a 1,000-acre nature preserve, a working and a well-respected, in fact, award-winning community-based NPR radio station, our new wellness center. All of these resources have the chance of not only supporting and aligning with the mission-based education that we're talking about here for Antioch students, but connecting the college to the local community here in Yellow Springs and then in the greater Dayton and Miami Valley area by strengthening the curriculum through these resources and through the practice areas around sustainability and resilience, around democracy and justice and so forth. We believe we'll be able to focus the attention of funders to increase the support that we receive from foundations and corporations and the wider community. And we believe that we're also going to be able to offer more entrepreneurial, innovative opportunities for our students. And I'll just give you one example. Among those, that small but very mighty class of 28 that just started at Antioch, there's a young man named Aaron Westbrook who has come to Antioch with a nonprofit organization which makes prosthetic devices out of recycled plastic, which Aaron has designed and builds on a 3D printer that he also designed and built, and is serving young people from communities around Ohio whose needs aren't being met. This kind of startup within a startup offers opportunities for donors and funders, and already people are stepping forward. There was an article about Aaron in Fast Company just a few days ago to offer their support. So our sense is that a small and mighty college with incredible students that are of the character that Antiochians have historically achieved will be very attractive to funders and will be a source for special kind of projects and programming that will not allow us to run the entire college absent tuition, but will be part of a rich revenue stream that will allow us to have a balanced and sustainable financial future.
Great, thank you, Tom. Now we have Richard Kellaway, class of 56 in the line. Richard, are you there?
I am.
Wonderful. Well, hello. I think I had the pleasure of meeting you in Boston a few weeks ago.
Oh, you did.
Great. Well, wonderful. Go ahead and ask your question.
Well, my concern is I believe that it is very important to have an open political situation. I want there always be space for dissenting opinions. I'm a radical liberal, but I want to make sure there's a space for conservatives at Antioch as well.
Great. Coco, would you like to talk about the question here?
Sure. Hi, Richard. This is Coco again.
Hi.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about hearing multiple views and engaging with multiple perspectives. And I want to reiterate that I think that that is what Antioch is about, like at the heart of its ethics or of its values. And I think that we've constructed that into this new curriculum with this idea of dialogue across difference, which is very much intentionally about engaging with the fact that students are coming from a multiplicity of perspectives and backgrounds and figuring out how to communicate respectfully and thoughtfully across those boundaries and contribute to some deeper understanding of one another. Speaking from personal experience, I think that Antioch has given me immense tools to sort of navigate the nuance of having a whirlwind of perspectives in one very small community. And I think that it's something that we continue to engage with in a very genuine way. I don't think anyone is being stifled, but I also want to not mistake political correctness or fear or discomfort as being like unsafe or like Antioch being unsafe. And I think that that's like a really critical difference and a misunderstanding about political correctness. And I also don't want us to be afraid to challenge views that in any way put limitations or constraints on another person fully expressing their humanity.
Great. Thank you so much, Coco. So another question here. Let's go to Pete Creelman in Arizona. Pete, are you on the line?
Yes, actually, I had submitted it in writing, but I'll just over the phone. But I'll repeat it. My question is how an example or practical explanation of how students self-design the curriculum or their major. How does it work in practice? Do they have a faculty advisor? Is there a time for review as to how their major is going, et cetera?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. This is Corrine again. I'm faculty. So with a self-design, a student, through the self-design course, they'll be able to craft a statement of inquiry, which is these are the intellectual questions I want to address, and then a pathway of inquiry. So these are the courses I will take to help me answer those questions. This is a co-op that will help me to answer those questions in an experiential way. These are the resources that Antioch has, the Glen, maybe the kitchens, the farm, that will help me also answer those questions in an experiential way. So we'll end up working with 2 advisors, which could be in the same discipline or across disciplines, depending on the nature of their self-design major, in a sense. So they have to articulate an intellectual framework and then the courses, co-ops, and other things in the community governance might come into it. At the end of their second year and the end of their third year, they'll revise that statement based upon what they've already done, and do they want to make tweaks to that? Would another course be? And I also say languages can play a part in that as well, depending on their interests. And so then at the end of that third year, they'll be articulating a project, which is really the capstone experience. And again, they'll be working with 2 advisors at least to bring that to fruition. They can meet separately, all together. And advisors won't have to be faculty. They can also be someone working in the assets. So someone at WISO could be on that committee. And so that also helps to break down the divisions that we don't want to have at Antioch between, who teaches and who learns. And I think maybe Kim had something to add as well.
Hi, yes, this is Kim. I wanted to follow up on the question about how self-design is working. And currently, self-design is a major that we have as an option right now. So that transition to all of the students doing self-design is really just an expansion of the program that we've currently had and has been very successful. I can give an example of my own conversations and mentorship with students. I think, like myself, many faculty, whether you're that student's advisor or not, are always open to provide professional input and suggestions about how they want to achieve the goals they want to achieve. So today, I met with a student who's really passionate about environmental justice, and she's taking my Introduction to Environmental Science class. And she and I were having a conversation about her own self-design goals, but also thinking about her post-graduation careers and some of the things that she wants to achieve. And so I think the role of that professional mentorship is something that we do very well here. I guess I'm praising my colleagues for the mentorship that they provide students. And I think that helping them triangulate their academic goals, their personal and professional goals, to their post-graduation goals is something that we've had experience doing, and I think our self-design graduates in the past few years have shown that success.
Great. So we are getting quite a bit of questions about co-op here, and there are several questions about that in terms of how it fits into our new curriculum, maybe how we have co-ops abroad, and some other things. So maybe we could just talk a little bit quickly in our last few minutes here about co-op in general, and we'll answer several questions at once. So Tom, do you want to answer, let's start talking about co-op here?
Answer several questions at once. That's my specialty. So co-op is right in the center, continues to be in the center of what we do. And as we begin to work on the real difference that Antioch is and can make in the world today, we recognize, as I said earlier, that co-op is a wonderful example of the power of experiential education in action, connecting that, integrating that even more into a strong educational program through coursework, through project-based learning, through these resources that I've mentioned, these areas of practice will be critical. We see co-op in that sense as the practice of work and the practice of community in the world. And so co-ops can be developed locally, but they can also take students nationally and internationally, and we're looking to make those connections. And also with the support of one of our alums and new trustees, Matt Morgan, we are developing a program where we'll actually be able to have relationships with co-op organizations, nonprofits. Matt's going to be supporting at least 12 to make connections with Antioch so that those co-ops, those co-op organizations will have an opportunity to nominate students for admission to Antioch College. And if those students are accepted, they will receive special scholarships. And in a return way, students at Antioch will be supported with stipends to do co-ops in those organizations. So we're not only looking to make sure that co-op is strengthened, we're looking to create a real network of ongoing co-op jobs and organizations that will allow a small college to grow even deeper roots. This also allows us to have a greater, this is answering another question about business and engineering co-ops and educational opportunities. This allows us to reach out to organizations that can help steep our students in experiences that we're not able to either support now because our curriculum with there are limits to what 30 full-time faculty can cover in our curriculum. But as we grow, these relationships will allow students to have experiences that we couldn't provide here on campus, and to develop incubator entrepreneurial opportunities even here in Yellow Springs, kind of in keeping with the things that I just mentioned about Aaron Westbrook. And I encourage everyone, we'll send out a link to this Fast Company article. Antioch was able to meet Aaron's needs because of our flexibility and because of our willingness to support him by giving him a lab and connections through our extensive alumni network.
Great, thank you, Tom. So we're getting close to the end of our call, but before we do that, we do have one last poll question here, so you can weigh in. So how strongly do you agree with the following statement? Antioch College's curriculum prepares students to face the challenges of the world today. Very similar question to what we asked right at the beginning, but we're wanting to hear what you think now that you've had the opportunity to listen to this conversation. So Kim, did you want to speak a little bit about co-op as well? Oh, excuse me, for the poll, you strongly agree with the statement, use key number 1, press 2 for somewhat agree, 3 for unsure, 4 for disagree. So once again, the question is, how strongly do you feel that Antioch College's curriculum prepares students to face the challenges of the world today? 1, strongly, 2, somewhat, 3, unsure, and 4, disagree.
Hi, this is Kim. I wanted just to connect the idea of co-op with the question that was earlier in our call tonight about the role of maybe GREs or graduate school. And I wanted to talk about the critical role of co-ops in the sciences for postgraduate success. I can name just a few of the students that I've worked with who have taken some pretty powerful co-ops in the last couple of years. The co-op in oceanography at Oregon State, working with the State Department, the Federal State Department in their Arctic programs, climate change program. Number of students going to Israel to do biomedical research and radiology. One of my students recently completed a competitive NSF REU research experience for undergraduate at the University of Alaska doing boreal forest research. These types of robust co-op experiences would provide tremendous leverage in grad school. So combined with the self-designed curriculum and the agency there, this is a pretty major factor in the success.
Thank you so much, Kim. So thank you, everyone, for staying on the line with us. We didn't get to all of your questions, but we will be sending a follow-up email with some answers as we can. And we're also going to send out a link to our colloquia. It was a document. There's a colloquia program which showed the capstone work from all of our senior work last year in all divisions. So I'm now going to have Rob give some final words, and then Tom.
Just as I listened to Corinne and Kim's comments and Coco's as well, one of the themes that comes across to me in a very powerful way underscores what's distinctive about Antioch in comparison to sister institutions. What you typically find in colleges and universities across the country and around the world is an overwhelming focus on teaching students, whether it's in a science course or in a course about democracy and social justice, preparing them to do something later, to get into graduate school, to make a difference with their lives when they get their degrees. And what's dramatically different about Antioch is that from day one, students are involved in the practice of those activities. And that combination of rigorous coursework and participation through co-ops and in governance adds up to much greater and more powerful student learning outcomes.
When I listen to everyone's contributions tonight, it's just so clear that, to me at least, that there's no other place like Antioch College right now on the horizon or in the sort of present time work in higher education. And the Hechinger report, if people had an opportunity to see that, a link was sent out last month, shows how special and different Antioch is, and this is a quality that comes through its alumni generation after generation, and I think you can hear it in the voice and the ideas and the excitement of Coco tonight and our faculty as well. The Aaron Westbrook article in Fast Company is another example, and yet just today Atlantic Monthly has a piece about Arthur Morgan and this idea of small community as a building block for democracy, and how those ideas were incubated in many ways through co-op and here at Antioch College. All of that stands to this idea of a place where students can own their education, a place that will work for them, a place that education is individually shaped and by engaging them in the world, in the fundamental challenges of that world, a place that it works, that they own it because they design it and build it with the faculty each step of the way. And I don't think any school offers greater agency or accountability for an education than Antioch today. And that includes that idea of inclusive shared governance from all of the stakeholders. So for 170 years nearly, Antioch's been changing lives, and we see that as the college's present and future. So thanks so much for your participation tonight.
Thank you, everyone, for calling tonight and for being with us. As I mentioned earlier, we will have a follow-up email. You'll be able to listen to this again and share this with your friends. This recording of this call will be posted online. We'll send out that colloquia document, which shows you senior capstone work. And then we'll also try and get some of those other questions answered that we weren't able to get to tonight. Thank you all so much for your support of Antioch College. Thank you for being with us. Have a good evening.